And welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. It is Wrestling Wednesday, and we are here, and we are going to bring on special guest today from Girard, their newest member of the 100 Win Club, Isaac Griffith. Isaac, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
No problem, no problem.
You got it. Well, first question, we'll just go right off the jump, and we'll say 100th win. Just a couple weekends ago. How'd that feel? You obviously have put a lot of work and time into getting 100 wins as a career, and you finally are able to get it. Take us through the emotions and how it felt to get that 100th career victory.
Well, I didn't even know I was gonna hit the 100 wins before that match, so, I mean, it was a nice surprise to find out that I did because I knew I was gonna hit it eventually in that tournament eventually, but I didn't know specifically when, so it was nice. It was a nice surprise, and I was excited, but the thing was I just gotta, I'm always trying to focus on the next match, and I'm not really trying to dwell on it, but it was nice to hit the 100 wins, but my big focus is getting to state, so that's always my number one focus.
As we talk to different athletes that are going towards milestones, they handle it in different ways. Some kids like to know exactly where they're at, points wise or wins wise, and some are like you, where they just like, hey, I'll get there eventually, and when I get there, it'll be a surprise. I know I'm close. What was it like for you going into that weekend, knowing that you were there, knowing that you were close, but not having that pressure that you were at 99 and not having to know, okay, the next win is 100.
I mean, it was nice, so I could just, I just focus on wrestling. I didn't have to focus on getting my 100th win, and I really just wanted to focus on winning that tournament. That's how I feel whenever I go into a tournament is I just wanna win. That's my number one goal. So it's never really been on my mind to get stats like that.
So Gary Althiser, who is usually with us as our wrestling guru, he has a question that he asks every week. So I'll take his place today and I'll ask it for you. The marks of a good wrestler is having a good drilling partner. So take us through who your drilling partners are and what they mean to you and how much they've helped you in your success.
Well, yeah, I think that statement's really true. I mean, I've had a couple drill partners this year. Mainly right now, I just drill with my coach. His name's Coach Garrett, but I'll work in with Jack Del Garbino. Sometimes will come in the room and I'll work with him, or I'll work with our 175 Tucker Steiner. I work with him a lot. Me and him go at it. He's a junior and I'm a senior, so we both known each other for a while, so we compete a lot during practice. But my main drill partners, I'd say, are my coach Garrett and Jack Del Garbino.
All right, so you take all the goals that you have, and you already said you're focused on getting the state. Talk about that goal this year, and what it's been like focusing on that and trying to use every match, every practice as a footstep to getting to your ultimate goal.
I mean, that's always just the biggest goal is to make it to state, and we haven't seen many state sports at Girard really at all. So it would be amazing for me to make it, and it would just it's the big goal. Like that's the number one thing.
As we're talking about the goals that you can achieve in your future, let's track back a little bit and talk about your wrestling journey. When did you start getting involved in the sport, and when did you find yourself kind of falling in love with it in the sense that you knew that it was something that you wanted to work really hard at and spend as much time as you do in it?
Well, I started wrestling about sixth grade, and I've been wrestling ever since then. But I never really found the passion for it until about eighth grade when I started to really compete at a higher level. That's when I really started to find a passion for it. And ever since then, I've just been in love, and I just love going to practice and getting some work in, and I just love wrestling. So ever since eighth grade.
Was there a certain coach or a certain match or a certain time when you remember like you starting to really, like you said, build a passion for it? Was there a reason? Was there a rhyme or reason why it started to click in your brain?
I mean, I would say, I mean, my high school coach, Coach Jim, and Coach Jack, or not Jack, my coach JT, and my coach Walt, they're really big inspirations. They really make this sport enjoyable for me. I definitely have to say that. But for a specific moment, I would just say when I just started to consistently be able to win, that's when I realized wow, I'm actually good at this. I should really put forth as much effort as I can.
All right, so another question that Gary, who is usually with us, likes to ask. Of course, there's so much stress around weigh-ins and trying to get yourself to the right weights when you're weighing in. But then once that's done, you get to relax a little bit and take a breath. And he always wants to know, what's your favorite post weigh-in meal to kind of celebrate you hitting that weight?
For me, it's Subway. I don't know why, but ever since my freshman year, I've always just got a foot long sub from Subway and some cookies. That's always been my go-to post weigh-in meal.
What's the Subway order?
It's varied over the years. I used to just get steak and cheese, double meat,
Mm.
and then I toast it. But nowadays, I get more like I'll get turkey breast, bacon, and then salami, and then I'll get like some spinach, peppers, onions, mayo, but and tomato. That's my usual order now. And then I'll get the white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookies. Those are the best.
It's a running point tradition, making us all hungry right around lunchtime. That's what we just have to do. Talk
Yeah.
about this wrestling room and the guys in it, and what it's like to be one of the leaders in there and trying to build this program into a legacy, and to shape your teammates into wrestlers that can go on and keep this program running.
My main thing when I'm in the room is I just try to lead by example. So what I do is I try to work harder than everyone else. I try to just I try to make it look like I'm not tired, but when I actually am, so that the other guys can see that and think this isn't as bad as it is, and to work through the struggles. And I just try to be that light for my teammates so so they can keep working harder and keep getting better.
When we talk to wrestlers, we love to talk about the mental toughness of wrestling and what it's like being out there on your own. No teammate can save you. It's just you and your opponent, and there are always tough times in every match. How do you get through those? How do you get yourself in the right mental state personally to get through wrestling?
Usually when I'm trying to get through hard moments in wrestling, I usually just think back to like the hardest times I've had in wrestling matches, the most tired I've been and like the most pain I've been in. I compare them and I just say, this isn't as bad as it was then, and I made it through then, so I can make it through now. And that's usually my main philosophy whenever I run into hardships.
What are things that you think you've worked on the most this year to improve on or to make yourself better?
I would say what I improved on the most this year was just I would say just my variety of takedowns. Last year I only really relied on the single leg, but now I'm starting to use single leg, double leg more like interchangeably pretty much. I'll go for ankle picks too sometimes. So I've expanded my setups a lot too. I've been using an underhook a lot. So I've just been pretty much working on the basics, I guess, and just refining them.
You're obviously a great athlete at Gerard, and one of the things that is also apparent is you're a student athlete, so you have to do your work in the classroom. So we want to ask you about some of your favorite things to study, and what are your favorite subjects at Gerard right now?
My favorite subjects are definitely math subjects. I really like I'm in a statistics class right now. That's really fun. But other than that, I'm in physics. That's really hard. I don't think I would say I enjoy that though. I'm trying to think. I'm in this presidential election class. That one's pretty fun. I like that one a lot.
Isaac for president one day. Let's go. I'd,
There we
I'd
go.
vote for you. I'd vote for you for sure. Not just because you could take me down if I didn't vote for you. That's not the only reason, I promise.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about your future. What are some of the things that you see in your future and things that you want to do after high school?
Well, I wanna go to Ohio State. I already applied there and I got accepted there. So that's pretty much my number one school. I'm gonna go there and I want to major in computer science and then I want to become a quantitative analyst. That's the plan for now. So we'll see where college takes me, but I want to get a computer science degree for sure. I think that would be very helpful.
This might be a easiest answer of the whole interview, but what made you choose Ohio State? Why was that a dream school?
Well, my whole family went there. My parents both went there. My aunts and uncles both went there. And my sister goes there now, and I just love it. I love the sports. I love the campus. I've been there a lot for a lot of games. So I mean, just everything about it is just amazing to me.
Would you be the first quantitative analyst of your family?
Yeah, I would.
What drew you into wanting to be that in that career path, and what made you passionate about that?
Well, I really like computers, and I built my own computer my freshman year, and I had a lot of fun with that, and I've just always been into computers since then, and I'm really good at math, and I really enjoy math, so I feel like that was a good combination of the two.
In the comments on Facebook, Mark Stancorb giving you some love, saying good luck and keep working hard and good things will happen. And That brings us into the next question, of course, which is the wrestling community. You get to wrestle against and with great people. What are some friends that you've made along the way that maybe aren't in the Gerard wrestling room, but you still love wrestling against, and you love the camaraderie that the sport brings?
Definitely all my teammates from Green Machine up in Austin Town are definitely some friends I've made. Mark Stamkor, of course. He was my drill partner on Green Machine, so I know him pretty well. And I just like he helps motivate me because when I see him succeed, I try to do better than him almost. I guess it's like a little competition almost.
We
So I
also
try
have
to
to talk
compete with
about
them.
we also love to talk about rivals, right? There's always that
Hmm.
wrestler that you every time you square up against, you're going to get a really good match from, and it's one of those ones that you get a little bit extra motivated to beat. Who are some people that come to mind that you love wrestling against, and you get kind of gassed when you know that they're going to be across from you on the mat?
I mean, I don't really. There's not too many wrestlers that I've wrestled like multiple times that I've known that it would be a good match. I mean, Mark, I knew that would be a good match, but that was my first time ever wrestling him in an official match. But I guess him because just because I've wrestled him before in practice, but I've never. There's not too many wrestlers that I've wrestled multiple times in a season. I guess that I would consider a rival.
All right, our wrestling guru Gary Althiser joining us. Gary, I already took care of the drill partner question. I took that for you. I knew that's a staple of Wrestling Wednesdays. Thanks for coming on and being able to join us in a tight day. I'll let you ask a question for Isaac before we get him out of here.
Okay. Isaac, so I was looking at some of your results the last couple of years. It looks like you made it to the blood round of the district tournament last year. I know that probably set things up for this year where you are mentally. Is your ultimate goal to get to the state tournament? Is it to be a placer? Where do you want to be at the end of the year? And do you think last year being that close helps you mentally?
Yeah, I want to. My ultimate goal is just to make it to state. I want to take it one step at a time, and of course, I want to place, and of course, I want to do all this. But first step is I gotta make it there. So that's definitely my ultimate goal. And last year, just barely not making it, just missing alternate by one place, and it's just that's really been my fuel all off season and all year this year is just to make it. Since I was so close, it was right outside my grasp last year, and that's really just been my main motivation thing throughout the whole year.
All right, Isaac, we know you have class. We're not going to keep it for too much longer, but before we let you go, we do this for every player profile. I want to give you the chance to turn the light off of you and onto your support system. Give as many shout outs as you want to the people in your life that you wouldn't be where you are without.
I want to thank my coach, Coach Jim Cardiro, for sure. Coach Mike Cardiro, Coach Walt, Coach Garrett, Coach Del Garbino, for sure. Those guys have all been there for me. My parents, my mom, Coach or not Coach, my mom, Kathy Griffith, and my dad, Bob Griffith. They've been huge supporters of me. My aunts, my uncles, the whole Griffith family. They've all been supporters. I want to give them all a shout out.
All right, Isaac, we want to thank you so much for joining us in the middle of the school day. We appreciate you giving us your time, and we look forward to talking to you real soon. Good luck the rest of this year, buddy.
Thank you.
You got it. Isaac Griffith from Gerard, their newest member of the 100 Point Club, joining us here on Wrestling Wednesday. Gary, I know, unfortunately, because of the scheduling that you had today, weren't able to get on much of that interview. I'll just give you a recap.
Okay.
Going for state, like you said, he was so close last year. One of the things that he talked about was just using that as motivation and wanting that to be like just the driving force of his time here and trying to bring Gerard a state placer, and one that they haven't had too much of in the recent past. So when you have a guy that gets so close like that, Gary, what's it like watching them just use that as motivation?
Oh, it's usually the ultimate motivator. If you're that close, then you believe that you can get there. And usually, when you're that close, the following year, just like he said, that's the number one goal. That's the number one thing that's on their mind. It's the thing that's weighed heavy on them. You get that close, and then the season's over. You don't wrestle again unless you go to something in an open tournament or you're doing some off-season work. But you don't get any more matches with your team. So you really, that's the last thing that you remember at the end of the season. So it really is one of the probably one of the ultimate motivators is getting to the state tournament, because like he said, you have to get there before you can place, before you can get on the podium, before you can be a state champ, you have to be a state qualifier. And when I was a kid, I had a coach that told me that you'll never see more heart or more effort from kids than you do in the blood round of the district tournament. Blood round is the round. If you win, you're going to Columbus, you're going to the state tournament. If you lose, you're not. So in that blood round, you just see kids go all out. And I'm sure that's exactly what he did. He went all out. He gave it all, his all, and it didn't come through for him. So now he's had that stewing in his mind all off season and now during the whole season. And I'm sure if he's held that as his focus, that he's saving his best, or he's going to peak at the right time to get there. If you can do that, especially if you've been that close, usually you'll see those kids punch their ticket the next season.
Another member of the Green Machine joining the Wrestling Wednesdays, as he works really well with that program in the off season. Gary, we'll transition into the recap of last week. Obviously, we have to talk about the EOWL that happened on Saturday at finals at Fitch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At Fitch. Talk about what you saw with the EOWL and some of the big results that happened over the weekend.
Nick Bowser won the heavyweight weight class there. He upset. I don't know if you call it an upset. He beat Dallas McCracken in a tight match there. There was some really great wrestlers there. Canfield kid placed really high. It was a kind of a meat grinder, and it was a tight match. You had two really high quality heavyweights going at it. That was a really, really good match to see. At the 132-pound weight class, Boo Heights and Heckman went at it. Both former guests here on Wrestling Wednesday. Really great match, a really tight match. And Adam Heckman was able to come through with the win there at the end. They were close. They were back and forth throughout the whole match. And Adam was able to catch his opponent just a little bit on his back, was able to get back points. That ended up being the difference in the match there. And it was another great tournament with a lot of really top quality wrestling. A lot of the locals that we talk about all the time, they did well there. And I really think that heavyweight weight class was the one where you kind of saw, the best guys rise to the top there. And, Bowser, when we talked to Nick Bowser, he said that, last year he wrestled hurt. And, a couple years, the years before, things hadn't worked out for him. So just like Isaac Griffith, probably has his eyes focused towards the end of the season. Now we're headed to the end of the season. Now it's kind of where you're seeing him ascend and be where he wants to be. Take nothing away from Dallas McCracken. He's been wrestling great all year. It was a tight match with two classic heavyweights going at it.
Yeah, now that the EOWLs are over, the next thing that we put our binoculars on to look at are obviously the tournament, right? The sectionals, and the things going on there. How much does winning the EOWL kind of propel you into the sectionals?
I mean, it's a great tournament. It's a big tournament, and it's a very tough tournament. So if you're able to get a championship there, you have to feel good heading into the postseason. There may be some, smaller conference or league tournaments, but usually by about now, most things are getting done. There might be one or two duels left. So this is probably the last big tournament that most teams have before they head to that sectional tournament. So if you come away with a championship there at the EOWL, you have to be feeling good as you head in to your postseason run.
Previewing some wrestling that we have on our schedule for the week. Unfortunately, no broadcast this week, but there are wrestling that is happening. A couple of duels, a couple of tries. Tonight, Crestview and Malvern and Southern are going to be at Jackson Milton. That should be a really fun one. I'm especially interested in Malvern versus Jackson Milton. I think those are two really good small school programs going at it. You got to think those are going to be the top two teams in that try.
Well, Southern Local is right there too with those guys, and if they're healthy, that'll be a three-way battle there. Crestview has some quality kids, but I don't think they have the numbers that the other three teams have. So depending on how many are in the lineup for Southern Local, they'll be right there with Malvern and Jackson Milton. That'll be three close duels that we'll see there. And this is when you're going to see the strategy of the coaches bumping guys around. When you get into close matches like that, you'll see just coaches move a guy up, bump a guy up, keep a guy there, or maybe their varsity at one weight will bump up, go to the wrestler at the next weight, and they have a tough guy waiting in the wings to take over there at that weight class. So that those three teams will be close. I'll be really interested to see the results of that.
Tomorrow we have another league duel with West Branch as they welcome in Carrollton into Beloit. So that'll be an EBC matchup there tomorrow. And then on Saturday we have a wrestling try with Toronto and Western Reserve going to East Palestine. That's on our schedule for Saturday. I'm sure this week is all about kind of finishing up your duels and finishing up your league responsibilities before you start focusing on tournament time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, just to get your last couple duels in here this last week, and then the week after. Really, this weekend and next weekend really are going to be it. After that, I don't know anybody that really schedules anything for their varsity the last 2 weeks. So we are really, really heading into the end of the season.
Yeah, and then would you have what team tournament first, and then the individual, right?
Yes, the team tournament is coming up too as well. Yeah, but we didn't even talk about that.
Right.
The state duel regionals are coming up, and they have the top 8 or 10 from in each region who will wrestle to get to that spot at the state tournament, where it's I think it's the final 8 teams in each division. There are 3 divisions. So you're talking about just a handful of teams are going for that team duel tournament. And being the best dual team does not mean that you're the best individual team either. So it's nice that they're now doing both of these, because that hasn't always been around. This is a newer thing that the OHSAA has done. So it's a really great thing to see, because the team aspect of wrestling is one that I personally think they don't focus on enough. And it really does build a lot of excitement when you know that you're not just out there and just wrestling in a sense for yourself, because your whole team is sitting there watching you while you wrestle. There's a big difference when you're in a tournament and you could have 3-4 guys wrestling at once, to where your teammates are all over the place. The kid had just got done wrestling, whatever. Everybody's focused on you, and the excitement can really be something you don't see in a tournament.
A couple years ago, we saw South Range win the state, and we know how exciting that was for them in that program. So just to piggyback on what you're saying, the excitement that it can bring a team, the excitement it can bring a community, the excitement it can bring a whole school. Well, this isn't fair, but sometimes communities and schools and fans don't get as excited if you say we have one wrestler that won a state. But if you say we have a team that won a state championship, that just it gets the community a little bit more fired up.
Yeah, I mean, they get fired up for both, don't get me wrong, but when
but it's
our team does it,
right.
Got all of the family of each and every kid on the team who have a vested interest in it. So, if it's just one person, of course the community is going to support that one person, but just being realistic, it's not the same when you've got a whole group of kids who are all going for the same goal.
All right, Gary. So one of the things that we'll have is last thoughts on this week and what you think we should be keeping our eye on, and what you think next week will bring.
I'd say keep your eye on injuries. There could be some kids that have been out that maybe are now going to get healthy and come back. That's something to keep your eye on. And it happens all the time. I hate to say it, but in the opposite direction, where somebody's wrestling these last few duels or tournaments and maybe they get hurt, and that kind of shakes things up at a weight class. We hope that doesn't happen. You hope that you kind of avoid those kind of fluky accidents, but it is a part of the sport. And also another thing to watch is this is the time where if somebody's going to drop to a lower weight class, they'll probably do it this weekend or next weekend so they can certify. You have to go and make weight at your scratch weight before you can get the 2-pound allowance that comes at Christmas. So you have to make the actual weight class once before you can get the 2-pound allowance. And almost nobody waits until sectionals to do that. So you'll probably see that coming up here in the next couple of weeks where, so-and-so dropped from 138 to 132, or from 132 to 126. That's when you're going to see these things come. And usually you'll see a couple of high-level kids that end up making a decision, hey, I'm allowed to go this weight, so now I'm going to try it out. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to certify for it. And then they'll have the option for sectionals. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But you'll see some of those things happening here pretty soon.
Mark Roberts giving the segment some love. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of our viewers tuning into Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Althiser. That'll wrap up this episode 9 in the books. And next week, we're full steam ahead for double digits as we'll go into episode 10. So we start to get ready for, like you said, team duels and OHSA sectionals as well, coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, it's coming up. I apologize for being late. My meeting ran over, but I was not going to miss this episode.